Om Shivaya, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. We have two parts to it. The first is Publisher's Desk, called A Mystical View of Sanatana Dharma. It will be in the coming issue, the July, August, September issue of Hinduism Today. So you haven't seen it yet. It's something new. And then we'll continue on with our Path to Shiva lessons, going through each lesson and the questions, and particularly on the questions, pointing out what the question is trying to get at, what it's trying to make sure the student is understanding. Sometimes it's obvious and sometimes it's not. So here we go. Hinduism is often referred to by the Sanskrit term Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana means eternal, and Dharma in this context means religion. Thus, Hinduism is the eternal religion. Calling a religion eternal naturally leads to the reflection, what is it that is eternal in the universe? And the answer, of course, is just one entity, God. I propose that Hinduism's eternal essence is possibly, I propose that Hinduism's eternal essence is possible only if it abides in the intelligence of God. How then does the spiritual knowledge pass from God to man, whose inmost being is also immortal? One analogy is to be found in biology, where we encounter a common type of cell reproduction called budding, where a daughter cell essentially grows out of and then separates from the mother cell. The DNA of each spawn cell is identical to that of the original cell. This, for example, is how yeast cells reproduce. Okay. Doesn't like something here. It's locked up temporarily. Excuse me, Sarvanath Swami, everything locked. Okay, we have technical difficulties. Oh, okay. Maybe it's okay. Seems to be okay. Fixed itself. Fixed itself. I got the message Vishwanathan's want to annotate, and I said approve, and it locked. Should I say disapprove?
Let's say disapprove.
Okay, in the future. Here's one. Decline. Okay. We're back. This is how yeast cells reproduce. We can picture God as the original cell and each soul as a cell produced by God. Just as the DNA of a yeast cell is passed on to a newly cloned cell, so is the divine intelligence of God, which includes the knowledge we call Hinduism, passed on to each soul. This logically leads to a second question. Why then are not all people aware of the truths of Hinduism that reside within them? A good question. The answer is that this subtle knowing is hidden deep in the soul and takes great effort and maturity to find. Hidden deep. We can think of this spiritual search as the ultimate treasure hunt. Divine truths are hidden within us, just waiting to be discovered. Renaissance thinker and writer Ram Swarup, this refers of course to the Hindu Renaissance, gave an excellent description of this search. Hinduism resides in all seeking hearts. And whenever man's seeking for gods becomes spiritual, Hinduism, or the tradition of Sanatana Dharma, automatically comes in. In what way and how long could man's innermost truth be kept away from him? To elaborate further on this idea, just as a trained scientist can develop deep understanding of the not always obvious laws that govern the universe, the matured soul is able to fathom the hidden laws that govern spiritual unfoldment. As sages have decreed, God's divine intelligence is available if you go to the depths of your soul. But it is a challenge to get there, and even harder to stay there. Many of you have seen this before, this example. Here is an analogy I like to use to illustrate finding the truths of Hinduism. Imagine a pond of water with gold nuggets at the bottom. If the surface of the pond has ripples due to a wind, or the pond itself is cloudy due to the presence of mud, the gold nuggets at the bottom of the pond cannot be seen from above. They are there, hidden from view. The ripples on the surface represent the agitated intellect. The cloudy water is a cluttered subconscious mind. And the gold nuggets at the bottom are the precious truths. To find these truths, we need to have a quiet intellect and a pure or clear subconscious. To achieve this takes serious spiritual striving, ideally under the guidance of a guru. An excellent third question would be, is there an original scripture of the eternal religion? What's our original scripture? We can say that the original scripture is the wisdom imprinted in each individual soul. So it's inside of us. Over the millennia, great rishis, swamis, and pundits have tapped into this inner knowledge and drawn forth portions of it which comprise Hinduism's holy texts. However, Sanatana Dharma's most potent scripture is the unwritten wisdom that resides within each of us. Paramadru Yogaswami often spoke of the superiority of one's inner scripture to any outer writing. He said, instead of spending time in book reading, it is better to spend it in studying yourself. Study is also a kind of yoga. Additional quotes are, the book is within you. Turn over the leaves and study. Truth is not encompassed by books and learning. You must know yourself by yourself. There is nothing else to be known. It must come from within. Don't rely on book knowledge. Trust the self alone. That last quote, it must come from within, adds a new dimension to the means of understanding the divine intelligence that God has placed within the soul. It is the faculty of intuition. By which we gain understanding through superconscious insight rather than intellectual analysis. Yogaswami referred to such insights as inner orders. Here is an explanation from the book, The Guru Chronicles, of how he used inner orders. Yogaswami worked intuitively, responding to those who came according to inner orders. In explaining this process, he once said, I do nothing. I can do nothing. Everything you see, that is done by what comes from within. Another time he said, when you come here, what will happen was settled long ago. We go through it, you bring it, but it all happened long ago. Sit and be a witness. Swami explained the process. When you are pure, you live like water on a lotus leaf. Do what is necessary. What comes to you to do, then go on to the next order you receive, and then to the next that comes. He advised, boldly act when you receive orders from within. You need not wait until all details are in order. If you wait for everything to be worked out, you may miss your chance. Have faith and do the work that comes from within. Money will trail after you if you are responding to divine orders. Helpers will come, everything will come. You have only to follow carefully that which comes from within. Gurudeva also stressed the superiority of inner superconscious experience over outer intellectualization. Having never read a book from cover to cover in my life, and having been trained from very early years, 16 or 17, to have the experience first, and then somehow or other it would be verified by scripture later on, this was my path. I was told that to know what was coming up in the experiential pattern of spiritual unfoldment could be to put into the subconscious mind the experience and memories of it, which would not be the experience at all. This, I was taught, would build a spiritual pride that would deter one from the path to self-realization. Very carefully, I observed this, fully understanding the wisdom of this advice. A fourth question logically arises. Who is the original teacher of the eternal religion? In his Yoga Sutras, Rishi Patanjali answers this question in chapter 1, verse 26. Ishvara was also the guru of those who lived earlier by virtue of his temporal continuity. The term Ishvara, of course, refers to God as personal Lord. The great commentator Vyasa elaborates on this verse. The former teachers of knowledge and of piety are limited by time, but he to whom time as a limiting factor is not applicable was the teacher of the former teachers. As he was present with his full powers in the beginning of the present cycle of creation, so is he at the beginning of the past creations. Unquote. In other words, the original teacher of Hinduism is God himself, and subsequent teachers were his students. A common depiction of God as the primeval guru is Dakshinamurti, which literally means south-facing form. It is the image of Lord Shiva sitting under a banyan tree, silently conveying the ultimate truth to four rishis sitting attentively at his feet. God's silence in this transmission of spiritual knowing is important, for he is not endowing the sages with his knowledge, but provoking them to discover the knowing that is always and already within themselves. As Sri Ramakrishna said, when you go into yourself a fool, but through the practices of yoga, you come out a wise man. My Guru's praise of the Sanatana Dharma is the perfect conclusion to these reflections. One great joy that the Hindu has is the appreciation for all other religions. Hinduism is theocentric. That means God-centric. Whereas most other religions are prophet-centric, revolving around the personality of some living person or some person who once lived in history and interpreted religion to his culture in his time. Hinduism has no founder. It was never founded. It has neither a beginning nor an end. It is coexistent with man himself. This is why it is called the Sanatana Dharma, the eternal path. It is not one man's teaching or interpretation. It is not limited to a single facet of religion, but consists of the entire spectrum, seen in its various components as if through a prism. That concludes our first portion, the publisher's desk. Moving on to Path to Shiva, starting with lesson 33, what is reincarnation? Reincarnation is the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Each soul has many lifetimes on earth. In each life, we drop off our physical body at death, but our inner self or soul never dies. We just leave our physical body and go on thinking, feeling, and acting in our astral body. We also do this when we sleep, but we return to our body each time we wake up. At death, we don't come back into our physical body. We leave the physical plane and remain conscious in the inner worlds. After some time, we are born again as a baby in a new physical body, with a new mother and father, a new name, and a new future. This return to the physical plane in a new body is called reincarnation. Memories of our previous lifetimes fade away during childhood. Though some adults can remember them. We eventually die again because of illness, old age, or an accident. Again, we step out of the physical body and go on living in our astral body. This happens repeatedly. Sometimes we are born as a boy, sometimes as a girl. The way we live in this life determines what our next life will be like. Reincarnation is like a great school, and each life is a classroom. Who is learning and growing in the school of life? Your immortal soul. You have lived many lives. Each lifetime is but one stride on the great journey of your soul. When all the needed lessons have been learned, your soul has matured, all karmas have been resolved, and you have realized God, you will not need to be born again. This is called liberation or moksha, the destiny of all souls without exception. Now get to questions and answers. Cycle of birth, death, and rebirth is called, of course, reincarnation. That's simple. We're just trying to make sure the term reincarnation is clearly understood. In each life, we drop off our physical body at death, but our inner self or soul never dies. So it's trying to emphasize this idea. It's contrary to modern materialistic life, which is when you die, you're gone. This is typical religion. When you die, you still continue. Your soul still continues. At death, we don't come back into our physical body. Check the correct answer. We remain in the inner worlds and are not reborn on earth. After some time, we are born again as a baby in a new physical body. This is stressing the Hindu point of view that just because you get to heaven, so to speak, doesn't mean you stay there. The majority of people get reborn. The Hindu point of view, you don't stay there permanently unless you accomplish moksha before you pass on. If you are a boy, you will always be born as a boy. If you are a girl, you will always be born as a girl. Of course, this is false. It's pointing out the soul is neither male nor female. And then by extension, the soul is neither male nor female. Certainly the gods are neither male nor female. It's a nice way of showing how the gods couldn't be male or female, because the soul isn't. It could be born either as a boy or a girl. When all the needed lessons have been learned, your soul is matured, and all karmas have been resolved, you will not need to be born again. True. Lesson 34. How do we prepare for death? Our rishis and holy scriptures assure us that death is a blissful, light-filled transition from one state to another, as simple and natural as changing clothes. It is not a horrid experience to be feared. In fact, ancient sages called death man's most exalted experience. Our soul never dies, only the physical body dies. We neither dread death nor look forward to it, for we know that life, death, and the afterlife are all part of our path to perfect oneness with God. Death is a quick transition from the physical world to the astral plane, like walking through a door, leaving one room and entering another. That's a very simple way of explaining it. What happens at death? It's like we're just moving from one room to another. We're the same person. If you move from one room to another, you don't become a different person. You don't even change your state of consciousness. So we're the same person. It's just we're fully in the astral world and we're no longer in the physical world. We changed rooms, but we're the same person. If we are blessed with the knowledge that our transition may be soon, we fulfill obligations so that we have nothing on our mind except our sadhanas. We make amends and resolve differences with others, forgiving and letting go of conflicts of the past so that we are free of guilt and worry and don't carry these karmas into future births. We also execute our will, distributing our possessions and duties, not leaving these tasks to others. Very important, not to leave that undone. Then we turn to God through meditation, japa, and study of our holy teachings. Many Hindus go to sacred places to make their great departure, as it is called. Varanasi is the most famous for this. It is ideal to be conscious and clear of mind at the time of death. Therefore, we minimize the use of drugs and heroic efforts to keep the body alive. When nearing transition, if hospitalized, we return home to be among loved ones. In the final hours of life, we seek the self-God within, focus on our mantra while family keep prayerful vigil. Death, we seek the grace of God Shiva, strive to leave the physical body through the crown chakra at the top of the head, entering the clear white light and beyond in quest of liberation. Got our questions? Death is not a blissful, light-filled transition from one state to another, but rather it is a horrid experience to be feared. Of course, that's false. Death is a quick transition from the physical world to the astral plane, like walking through a door, leaving one room and entering another. True, I already explained that one. If we are blessed with the knowledge that our transition may be soon, we number the following actions 1 and 2. So number 1, of course, is make amends and resolve differences with others and execute our will. We get those out of the way. In other words, those are more physical tasks that involve other people and responsibilities. We want to clear all of that so that amends have been made, differences solved, and our affairs are in order. Then number 2, turn to God through meditation, japa, study of our holy teachings. That's the natural second step. Our transition to the inner worlds is called A, the great departure. It is ideal to be conscious and clear of mind at the time of death. To accomplish this, check the incorrect answer. Stay in the hospital rather than return home. We minimize the use of drugs. We minimize the use of heroic efforts to keep the body alive. So the incorrect answer, of course, is A, we stay in the hospital rather than return home. If you're in a hospital, you can't create a religious environment. It's totally medically supervised, being watched state of environment, and that's not what we want. But once it's clear the person's going to pass on, then in the near future, then there's no need for additional medical attention. It's more important to create a religious environment to pass on in. Okay, lesson 35. Why is the Satguru so important? Anyone hoping to climb Mount Everest would be wise to have a Sherpa by his side, a guide who has been where you want to go. Similarly, as we walk the spiritual path, we should not be without a Satguru, an enlightened master who knows truth and can take us there. The word guru means teacher. Anyone you are studying with may be called a guru, such as a dance guru, music guru, or a classroom teacher. Teacher is important in any area of study because it is difficult for us to see our own weaknesses, but easy for a trained expert. Your mother and father are your first gurus. Many Hindus have a Satguru, a teacher of Sat or truth. The Satguru is a mature soul who has realized God and is able to lead others along the path. Shiva is within each of us, shining out through our eyes, but Shiva shines out from the Satguru more brightly because he or she is pure and enlightened. That's an important Saiva concept, which I don't think is touched on in the questions and answers, so I'll make a comment. In some religious traditions, when someone reaches the stage of being a Satguru, he's declared an avatar. Oh, this person's an avatar of this deity or that deity. Some people would call Gurudev an avatar of Lord Subramanya. But that's not the orthodox Saivite way of looking at it. Avatar means God is being born on earth and is not maturing as a normal human being. The person was born fully matured. That's avatar concept. As this points out, the Satguru is a human being, a soul just like us, but Shiva shines out more brightly. So the Satguru has come up through the same stages we have come up through, but is further along. So naturally is a good guide. Thus, we worship the Satguru as Shiva himself. The Satguru is devoted full time to religious life, to upholding Saivism and helping his devotees. Just by living and being, he or she brings peace and blessings to the world. The Satguru is always a sannyasin, one who is unmarried and has renounced all possessions, personal life, family, and friends. Again, of course, that's just speaking of a Satguru in our tradition. A rare initiation from his guru empowered him with the highest spiritual authority and knowledge. This is Shiva's revealing grace, Anugraha Shakti, in action. Nice way of putting it. Yes, a recent photo. If your family has a Satguru to guide it, you are indeed fortunate. He can wisely advise your parents and keep the family strong, harmonious, and spiritually alive. Get to know him, talk to him, and ask questions. He will share his wisdom and help you draw close to God. Get our questions? The word guru means teacher. Anyone you are studying with may be called a guru, such as a dance guru, a music guru, or a classroom teacher. True. This is pointing out that the word guru isn't equivalent with Satguru. Satguru needs the word Sat in front of it. Guru just means teacher. We have all kinds of teachers in our life. Satguru is a teacher of Sat or truth. Check the incorrect answer. He is a guide who knows truth and can take us there. Your mother and father are your first Satgurus. He is a mature soul who is able to lead others along the path. Of course, B, your mother and father are not your first Satgurus, they are your first gurus. We worship the Satguru as Shiva himself because Shiva shines out from the Satguru more brightly than from others. Exactly. Satguru is a teacher of Sat or truth. Check the incorrect answer, is married. So that's the incorrect answer in our tradition. If your family has a Satguru to guide it, you are indeed fortunate. He can. Check the incorrect answer. Wisely advise your parents, initiate you to all become renunciates. Keep the family strong, harmonious, and spiritually alive. Of course, B is incorrect. He's not trying to make someone who's following the family path a renunciate. And we have lesson 36. What is our heritage of gurus? Since the beginning of time, the power or Shakti of God Shiva has been carried forth by enlightened beings, Satgurus. That power is like a brilliant ray of spiritual energy. Many of these masters trained other great souls and passed on their power to them. As this happened again and again for thousands of years, many chains of gurus called parampara were formed. Nicely explained. Our lineage is called the Kailasa Parampara. It means the lineage from Shiva's Himalayan mountain, Kailas, began thousands of years ago. The first master that history records is Maharishi Nandinada. He passed his power to Rishi Tirumular, a sage who wrote a yogic text called Tirumandaram. After him, over 150 rishis carried the Shakti of Shiva forward, their names lost to history. In the 19th century, a nameless Himalayan rishi of this lineage traveled to Bengaluru in South India. There he passed the thread of power to Kadait Swami and sent him to Sri Lanka to strengthen Saivism there. Kadait Swami passed his power to Sage Chelapa Swami. He in turn initiated Satguru Yoga Swami. 1949, Yoga Swami ordained our Gurudeva, Subramanya Swami. Gurudeva brought Saivism to the West and established Kauai Adinam, his monastery, on the Hawaiian island of Kauai in 1970. 2001, he initiated Bodhinatha Valan Swami as his successor. The power from all previous gurus and the blessings of the devas that assist them abide in the current preceptor. Oh, that's a nice way of looking at Guru Puja, is you're not just honoring the current guru, you're trying to draw forth from him the power from all previous gurus and the blessings of the devas that assist them, trying to draw the whole parampara out through the ceremony and through the devotion of the devotees. At our questions? Sanskrit term for chains of gurus is parampara. Tamil is paramparai. In Tamil, the long A at the end turns into an AI, paramparai. So if you wondered what the difference is between parampara and paramparai, one is Sanskrit and the other is Tamil. Excuse me, pushed the wrong key. The Kailasa Parampara began hundreds of years ago. Of course, that's false. It's thousands of years ago. This is emphasizing how long it's been around. Number the Satgurus of the Kailasa Parampara in the chronological order from 1 to 8. You could do that. We don't have to do that one together. Kadai Swami traveled from South India to which place to strengthen Saivism? Of course, Sri Lanka. Power from all previous gurus and the blessings of the devas that assist them abide in the previous preceptor, current preceptor, only some of the preceptors. So we just talked about that. Of course, the answer is current preceptor. And that power is brought out very effectively through the ceremony of Guru Puja. Lesson 37, what are the two paths? Like my graphic? Two paths. In Hindu society, there are two ways to live our adult life. We call them the two paths. Most people follow the family path. A rare few follow the monastic path. A married couple has great responsibilities. They create and run a home together. They raise their children as spiritual, well-educated citizens of their nation. They provide support to the young, the aged, and the monastic community. Tirukural summarizes, the foremost duty of family life is to serve duly these five: God, guests, kindred, ancestors, and oneself. Married life begins with the wedding ceremony, where vows are taken to be faithful and follow Dharma for life. Monastics follow a different path. Instead of having a spouse and children, they embrace the whole world as their family. They have two goals: to serve humanity and realize God. That's nicely stated. They renounce name and fame. Their focus is worship, meditation, and yoga, which makes them pure and wise. They inspire and uplift those on the householder path. Some wander or live alone, and others join monasteries. Some are dynamic teachers, some are swamis with many followers, and others are unheralded hermits. In Saivism, most monastics are men, but there are also orders for women. Monastic life begins with vows to stay unmarried and celibate, devoted to God, gods, and Guru. Most Hindu monks wear orange robes. Others wear white or yellow robes. Some shave their heads while others have long hair and beards. The Tirukural praises both paths. Behold those who have weighed the dual nature of things and followed. The renunciate's way. Their greatness illumines the world. Domestic life is rightly called virtue. The monastic path, rightly lived beyond blame, is likewise good. The key is to choose your path carefully and follow it faithfully. Have our questions? The two paths refer to Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, two ways to live our adult life, the family path and the monastic path. So, of course, C is the answer, stressing what we mean by the two paths in this context. For each concept below, enter F if it relates to the family path and M if it relates to the monastic path. The whole world is their family, so that's M. Provide support to the young and the aged, that's F. Serve humanity and realize God, That's M, renounced name and fame. That's M, family is spouse and children. That's F. In Saivism, monastics are B, mostly men. As the text says, there are some orders of women, but generally majority are men. The Tirukurao praises, of course, both paths. The key is to choose your path carefully and follow it faithfully. True. So this is a good place to make a comment. The two paths in general, in the general Hindu community, the difference between the two paths is not that well understood. And sometimes the teachings that are given, Swami will get up and say something like renounce desire. Those on the family path don't know how to interpret that and think it literally relates to what they should be doing in their day-to-day life. Of course, it doesn't apply in that way. So it's important, particularly for householders, not to try and live like monks. And that's more likely than monks trying to live like householders, but that could also happen. Householders living like monks is they think they shouldn't acquire wealth, think they shouldn't try and be successful in their career because the world is something they should withdraw from. Things like that are a misunderstanding of the two paths. So it's important that, one of the things that we teach is a clarity on what the path is for that family person and what the path is for the householder. This lesson gives some of the basics, and what I refer to in my talks is the Tirukural, just the chapters. There's a section on Aram, which is the ancient Tamil word for Dharma. First one is on Ilaram, which is the family path. Second one is Turavaram, the renuncia path. And if you just look at the chapter headings, just look at the chapter titles, you can see the difference. And you can see that things like eradication of desire fall in the monastic one. They're not listed in the family one at all. So it's a good way of understanding that Saivite traditional way of approaching the two paths. Lesson 38. It's our last lesson. Who are holy men and women? Saivism has many holy men and women. All are great devotees of Shiva, Murugan, and Ganesha. We honor living holy ones on their birthday, or Jayanti. Those who have left this earth we revere on the day of their passing, or Mahasamadhi, their new birthday. Saints reflect the peace, humility, and purity of a devout life. Sages are great souls who may outwardly appear ordinary. Satgurus are enlightened beings who guide others on the path. Holy men and women, married people as well as gurus, sadhus, and swamis, have stood strong for Saivism at critical times throughout history. Many traveled widely and spread Saivite culture and knowledge to new areas. Some were solitary mystics, meditating and performing yoga. Some wrote scriptures or composed beautiful songs to God that we sing today. Our lineage began over 2,000 years ago with Maharishi Nandinada. This is a repeat of the previous chapter. Yoga master from Kashmir. His disciple Sundaranada, later known as Rishi Tirumular, traveled by foot to South India to teach Saivism. Our many gurus followed from him. Other Saivite traditions include that of Matsyendranath and his disciple Gorakshanatha, who expounded Hatha Yoga and spread Nada Saivism through central India and Nepal. The many women saints include the austere yogini Karakal Amayar, and the beloved saint Avayar, whose poems children study to learn religion and good conduct. Among the most famous Tamil Saiva saints are the Nalvars, who kept Saivism strong in Tamil Nadu 12 centuries ago. We got our questions. Saivism's many holy men and women are all great devotees of. Check the incorrect answer. Incorrect answer, of course, is Krishna. Krishna is not in the, what's it called? Shiva Parivar, Shiva's family. Krishna is not a member. Enter the letter from below of A to B for the correct Sanskrit term. Living holy ones are honored on their birthday. So, of course, that's called Jayanti. It's just teaching these two terms. Those who have left this earth are revered on the day of their passing, Mahasamadhi. Enter the letter below of A to C for the correct category of holy men and women that applies to that description. So this is reinforcing what the lesson says about the difference between sages, saints, and sadgurus. Reflect the peace, humility, and purity of a devout life. So that's a saint. Are great souls who may outwardly appear ordinary. It's a sage like Jalapaswami. Enlightened beings who guide others on the path. Satguru. All our holy men and women were solitary mystics meditating and performing yoga. Of course, that's false. The text points out there are many types of holy men and women. Some traveled a lot and spread the teachings. Others were solitary mystics. Enter the letter from below of A to B for the correct women's saint who fits that description. So, of course, the austere yogini is Karakal Amayar, and author of poems for children is Saint Avayar. Very good. Look at that. We finished before 1 p.m. Hawaii time, which is our goal. Oh, thank you very much. Look forward to giving our next webinar in a couple of months. Om Namah Shivaya.